Hi everybody, this is Bill Knight, and I wanted to speak to you today about this fiscal cliff that you're going to need to be writing about in discussion topic number 7. The idea of the fiscal cliff results from the fact that on December 31st, 2012, that's less than 2 months from now, there's going to be a number of measures that could send us over the edge into the abyss of recession. Here's what's going to happen on December 31st. Last year's payroll tax cuts will expire. The end of certain tax breaks for businesses will occur. There will be an increase in the alternative minimum tax. This is going to dramatically increase the income tax on many households. There's also going to be an increase in the taxes related to President Obama's health care plan. And there are going to be dramatic spending cuts resulting from the Budget Control Act of 2011. Now, this Budget Control Act was passed in order to do two things. First, in order to persuade members of the House of Representatives and the Senate to ultimately increase the debt ceiling for the year. Otherwise, the government would not have had enough money to finance its programs. And secondly, to avoid the downgrade in the credit rating of U.S. government bonds. This would have spiked up interest rates and led to a terrible recession. So the Budget Control Act of 2011 is going to kick in as of December 31st, 2012, resulting in dramatic budget cuts. Now, these tax increases would, of course, significantly reduce consumer spending, significantly reduce investment spending, both of which would cause the aggregate demand curve to shift to the left. It would reduce the profitability of businesses, causing the aggregate supply curve to shift to the left. If you jot it down on a piece of paper and you look what happens when the aggregate demand and the aggregate supply curve shifts to the left, you will see that there will be a dramatic reduction in the GDP, the level of output. And as a result, the unemployment rate will spike. You think it's high now? Just wait till we fall off this fiscal cliff. Now, I don't know what the price level is going to do. That depends upon the relative shifts of the aggregate demand and aggregate supply curves. But I do know that the level of output will go down, the economy will slow, and there will be greater unemployment. So, here's what we could do to avoid the fiscal cliff. We could let the tax cuts expire, let spending go down, unemployment would go way up. In other words, go ahead and fall off this fiscal cliff. But the good news is that the deficit would go down. And that's ultimately the goal. Or we could cancel the tax increases. We could cancel the spending cuts and avoid the immediate recession. Continue on the path that we are currently on. But the debt will continue to grow, and we'd soon face a debt crisis like they're experiencing in Greece and Spain and Portugal and Ireland. Now, we're the most familiar with the problems in Greece because we see the videos on the news of people setting barricades on fires, turning over cars, throwing rocks at policemen, rioting in the streets. That's because the Greece government cannot borrow anymore. They have to pay off their loans. Their credit rating is bad. Who the heck is going to lend them any money? That means spending gets cut, people get cut out of programs, taxes get raised. They're currently unemployment rate in Greece somewhere in the 20s, and there's nothing that the government can do, no spending, no stimulus to get them out of it. That's what we face if we continue to kick this can off the road. So we can fall into the abyss of the fiscal cliff, we can cancel and avoid the situation altogether, kick the can down the road, which would mean an even worse fiscal cliff at some point in the future. Or we can reach some sort of compromise. We can cancel some of the tax increases. We can cancel some of the spending cuts. We'd get a little recession now. The abyss we'd fall into would not nearly be as deep. Possibly push the ultimate crisis down the road a ways, and it would be lessened. But we're going to have to take our medicine at some point. Now, the election on Tuesday produced a Republican House and a Democratic Senate. In other words, nothing there had changed, which makes it extremely difficult for Congress to reach a compromise and pass a piece of legislation ready for signing by President Obama. Now, each branch is going to require that the other branch give in to its own demands. Speaker Boehner of the House of Representatives has already said that he is not going to agree to any plan that's going to raise taxes. Now, as far as the Senate goes, I haven't heard any declarations from anybody, but it is unlikely that the Senate is going to want to give up their spending programs, with the possible exception of national defense. So here is where President Obama must employ some leadership skills. He's got to bring the House and the Senate together in order to forge a compromise. Otherwise, we will fall off that fiscal cliff. Unemployment will spike. We'll be in a bad recession. It's not pretty. So, check out discussion topic number 7. I'm very eager to see your responses. You've done a wonderful job on these discussion topics so far. I'll make another video, some more lecture notes, post them online. We'll do this again soon. So long for now.